Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt, and thanks to my friends at Hyundai West Dallas, I'm spending a little bit more time with the new second generation Hyundai Palisade, but this one is different than the one we drove earlier this year because this one is the brand new hybrid. It's an entirely new generation this year. It's an entirely new generation of powertrains, and I'm going to show you the best and the rest of the new Hyundai Palisade hybrid. Let's get into it. And as we always do, we're going to start the video with the objective cons. But the truth is, objectively, there's really not a lot to ding the Palisade on. I guess if I had to put something on the con side of the video, it would be the trunk space, just because with everything down, second row, third row, max cargo capacity, it's about 10 cubic feet shy of segment leaders like the Acadia and the Toyota Grand Highlander. But the truth is, the cargo area still bangs. You've got a powered tailgate, as we saw. With the third row up, you're looking at 19 cubic feet of space, which is bigger than you get in some proper three-row body-on-frame SUVs, Toyota Sequoia. You get an underfloor storage area, which is nice and spacious and practical. Your third row is powered, and you have slider controls back here for almost an infinite amount of customizability for your space. When you fold those down, which go down powered, you're looking at 46 cubic feet of space, and you can drop the second row from the trunk as well. You're not going to come back up, but you can drop them from the trunk, and then you're looking at 86 cubic feet of space. And like I said, that 86 number isn't segment leading like the 97 you'd see in something like an Acadia, but the impressive thing is, this is a hybrid. Inherently, they're supposed to have less cargo capacity, but yet these numbers that I just listed off are the exact same as you get in the V6. They've stuffed the hybrid battery under the second row, so it does not affect your cargo capacity whatsoever. Really impressed with the cargo area, so hard to say it's a con. And then since there's no other objective cons that I can think of, we have to move on to the nitpicks section of the video, which means there's three little things that I've noticed. One, your towing capacity in the hybrid goes down from 5,000 in the V6 to 4,000 here in the hybrid. Two, your third row access just takes a little bit of time because the second row is powered. It gets out of the way in a child seat friendly way where it's not going to crush your booster seat or anything, but it just does take a second to get there. And then three, the owner's manual, since there's so much going on with this car, is so big that it takes up most of the glove box. But other than that, there's nothing else to ding the Palisade on objectively. So let's talk about all the places that it shines. Now, the first thing I want to talk about on the pro side of the video, I want to get it out of the way right away because we talked about it in the V6 review. It's the hybrid. This is a new generation hybrid system. This is not the same hybrid that comes out of the Tucson hybrid or the Santa Fe hybrid. This is a new 2.5 turbo 4-cylinder with 2 E-motors. It's also tied to a 6-speed automatic, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the actual driving experience. It makes 329 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque, so it's pretty torquey, and it's significantly more powerful and torquey than the V6 that we drove earlier. It's all fed, well, at least the electric motors are fed by a 1.65 kilowatt-hour battery, which is fairly big. Most kind of hover around 1 or 0.9 kilowatt hours, so this actually has a pretty robust battery capacity. You set off, it's pretty smooth, but it's also pretty efficient. Now, as standard, you can get the Palisade hybrid in front-wheel drive. It's going to do about 34 mpg in front-wheel drive. If you go to the all-wheel drive, which is what I suspect most of them will be here in Wisconsin for the added winter traction, you're going to knock down to about 30 mpg, but 30 mpg in something of this size and this feature content and this luxury is pretty incredible. Also, it's certainly worth noting that this is also a much better performer than the V6. This does 0 to 60 in just under 7 seconds, which is a whole second and a half faster than the V6 was getting to 60. So it's torquey, it's smooth, it's efficient, and it's more powerful than the V6, and it costs an extra $2,000 to $3,000 depending on what trim you're in. So pretty good. But this is a family vehicle, so let's talk about rear seats. Starting with the doors, full points, you get sunshades, absolutely love to see it. And then the space when you get in is expansive. It's a little bit smaller than in the V6 because of the whole battery situation, but they slide, they recline, they're power controlled. You can get a bench in your hybrid, but it's only gonna be for the SEL and SEL premium trims. Above your head, you've got buttons to control your heated and cooled seats. You've got a separate climate zone back here, and you have a dedicated sunroof for the rear seats. You've got an excellent super soft micro suede headliner that makes it feel a lot more upmarket. You've got loads of chargers and storage. The only thing that I'll ding about the back seat is that your cup holder is in the door. It's up front towards where the door hinges, so it's less likely to spill as you close the door if the lid pops off your drink cup, but it still is a little bit of a possibility. So if you want to really be protected, I guess you could put something in here, but overall, the back seat's entirely practical. Every feature you could possibly think of back here, minus like a rear entertainment screen, but everyone's got their iPads anyway. So full points. And of course, it's a Hyundai review, so we're going to talk about tech on the positive side of the video. You get a head-up display for your calligraphy trim here. You get a fully digital instrument cluster. It's like 12.3 inches. Over to its right, you've got another 12.3-inch center screen. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You get a split view, so you can see multiple things on screen at once, which is really pretty nice. You've got a great 360 camera, especially for the class here. On a non-luxury tier vehicle, you have a great 360 camera. The car is always white in classic Hyundai fashion, but you've got that 360 augmented view, which is pretty cool. From there, you've got Hyundai classics like cabin talk, quiet mode that we'll talk about later in the video, and you've got sounds of nature. Shout out to Lively Forest, always a good time. You do have a wireless charger down here. It's really nice. It's next to your UVC thing, so you can sanitize your phone and then charge it wirelessly. You've got a digital rear view mirror. Always love to see that in a family vehicle that you might be road tripping and packing things up to the ceiling in. Your safety suite, you got HDAS. It's got the little eyeball watcher. It'll change lanes for you. It's a little finicky, but overall it's still probably a top 10 system, regardless of brand. Certainly in the class, it's probably a top 3 system, I would say. You can use the steer assist while not in cruise as well. Just a little fun fact. So overall, the tech suite, no complaints at all. Surprise, surprise. And when it comes to styling of the new Palisade, I'm going to put it on the pro side of the video. Now, if you spend any time online, you'll know that Kia just dropped their new Telluride, and you'll also know that everyone thinks, just like the first generation, that the Telluride is the better looking vehicle. However, I still think this looks good, and I think it looks a little bit better than it did last year and last generation. So pro side of the video it is for the looks. Now there's a handful of colors that you can get for the new Palisade. Ours is in the charcoal color, which is shockingly green to be called charcoal. My favorite colors are the deep maroon and the robust emerald. They look fantastic. But you get a totally new face, much like we saw in the V6. You get bold running lights, a more squared off grille, slightly more conventional kind of truck look, I guess you could say. Full width headlight, I don't know, kind of silly, but I guess if you're into that sort of thing. But around the side, you can see from the profile that this thing is 2 inches longer than the old one, but it's a simple, tasteful SUV profile that maximizes space inside, and that's really what I'm looking for. Zoomed in, you got 18 to 21 inch wheels. The calligraphy wheels are the same as the ones on the V6, and they look fantastic. Very ornate, very Gatsby, very upmarket. The rear end design, it's simple. It's dominated by mirrored taillights and Palisade script across the back. And everything that I just said can be said also for the V6. The only place that this thing is differentiated from the V6 is that small little hybrid badge on the back tailgate. So tasteful, clean, and subtle design, and I like it. And then when it comes to the driving experience, this was really the thing that I wanted to focus on coming into this review. Obviously, we drove the V6 earlier this year, and it was really impressive. It was really smooth. It wasn't super inspiring, but it was really smooth, and it did feel luxury car. So I was really hoping that this new hybrid system would maintain some of that. And I think I'm glad to say I'm pleasantly impressed. I mean, it's pretty good. It's not quite as smooth or refined as like a Honda 2-motor hybrid system. That's a very different thing. We've talked about that to death on the channel, but it is a very smooth transition with the hybrid. I've got loads of torque, I've got power where I need it, and as the gas engine kicks on and turns off, I'm really only reminded of it through a slight vibration through the steering wheel, and then also just a little bit of auditory. But if I had music going or if I had the AC blowing, I really wouldn't hear it much at all. We do have a 6-speed auto that the power goes through, so it's nice to not have rubber bandy CVT. I know a lot of people have feelings about that. You do get front wheel drive standard. It's an extra $2,000 for H-Track all-wheel drive. Again, I expect most of the cars in Wisconsin to be H-Track all-wheel drive, so the price can climb if you go for all-wheel drive and the hybrid, but I do still think it's probably worth it. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. One thing to be said though, the calligraphy adds all-wheel drive as standard, so you're not gonna have to pay that in addition to adding the calligraphy package on. You get acoustic glass, it's very quiet, it's very refined in here. It certainly feels that half step towards a Lexus or an Acura or a luxury tier vehicle. It definitely kind of feels like it's fighting Mazda in that way. The car itself, 4,938 pounds. It's a few pounds heavier than the V6, which is like 4,872, but you do get a self-leveling rear suspension, and overall the ride composition, very good. Cabin isolation, very good. Visibility, it's all good. The seats, really comfortable. It's just a nice place to spend time. And the hybrid, it's sussed out. It's kind of just good from all angles. Now this is the part of the video where we talk about the third row, but I have to get the second row out of the way first, which we talked about earlier. So I'm gonna press this button here. Now if you have emails to check, now would be the time. Good, it's out of the way. Now I can get back here. The space is actually pretty easy to get back here, even for 6-footers. And once I am back here, it slowly reclines itself back into position. But the space back here is pretty good. But if you didn't like the space the way it's set up, you have the ability to slide and recline your third row, and power controls at that, which is pretty incredible. You've also got a heated third row here. I mean, you're not even getting that in a BMW X7, Mercedes GLS, or an Audi Q7. And on top of that, I've got a nice view out of the sunroof still. I've got air vents in my ceiling. I've got some USB-C chargers on either side. I've got cup holders. I mean, I've got everything that I could possibly want. And the same really nice perforated leather continues into the third row. So it's not like this space was forgotten about. And it's definitely something you could put 6-footers back in for maybe a couple hours at a time. And then one of my favorite things about the new Palisade, it goes for the old Palisade as well, but the cabin experience certainly feels, again, I'm gonna abuse this phrase, but it feels that step towards luxury. It feels nicer than what you'd get in an Acadia or a Grand Highlander or a Pilot. You get really nice, rich Napa leather. I love this kind of like off-white interior. You've got this like birch treatment across your very mid-century modern looking dash, and your center console feels very mid-century. It's open pore. I love the textures, the materials are really impressive, and it's accented with this like very navy dark blue. It feels really, really expensive. I've got heated and cooled seats up here. I've got heated and cooled seats in the back, heated steering wheel, 2 levels. I've got ergo motion massage on the driver's seat. That's a Genesis thing, and it's here in your Hyundai. The interior design is fantastic. We talked about that mid-century, which certainly plays to I absolutely love that. But it just works well. You've got nice ergonomic physical buttons for your climate controls, your media controls. You've got loads of storage all throughout the cabin. You're not gonna get the deployable spin-out cup holders anymore, but to be honest, these feel a little bit stronger, more robust, and like they might last a little bit longer. Your ambient light is great, the design is great, the materials are great. I've got nothing but nice things to say about this cabin experience here, especially with this light, kind of like off-white light gray interior with the kind of midnight navy blue. Absolutely fantastic. And the last thing that we'll talk about is price, and I do think you get a reasonably good value here with the Palisade Hybrid. The Hybrid starts at $44,160. That's just $2,000 more than the base V6 powertrain. All the way up on the calligraphy trim that we have here with our tester, that starts at $56,780, which is almost $3,000 more than the V6. And as tested with paint and destination and everything else, this is just scratching the surface of $60,000, which certainly makes it a pretty expensive proposition, but this definitely blurs the line between something like a Toyota and something like a Lexus. This is definitely leaning more toward the Lexus or Acura side of things, so I think there's definitely some value proposition at play here, and we'll talk about that more a little bit behind the wheel. But first, a couple odds and ends. First, and possibly the coolest, is this button here. It says UVC, and what it means is whatever you put in this center console area, there's UV light that emits from the sides of the walls that's going to sanitize your phone, your wallet, your keys, whatever you put in there, which is super, super cool. On your egg key, you've got buttons for your smart park, so you can take your car for a walk if you want. But a Palisade staple, you swipe down on your infotainment screen and you've got passenger talk, which is basically going to take your voice, record it through the speakers here, and then play it in the back of the car. That way, if you need to yell at your kids in the back, if they're being loud or crazy, you don't have to take your eyes off the road and make things a little bit more dangerous. So this is a nice handy feature, and in tandem with that, you've also got quiet mode. So if your kids aren't being crazy, if they're just sleeping peacefully like little angels, you can hit quiet mode, and then you can jam out or listen to podcasts or whatever you want to do in the front and not bother them in the back, because it's going to dull the volume in the back so they can sleep. And I absolutely love to see this feature here. This is the built-in dash cam system, and basically what it does is it takes the 360 cameras and it allows you to record using them while you're on the road or while you're parked or whatever. So if somebody hits you, if you get into an accident, you have footage showing who's liable and who's at fault. This is an awesome feature that I would hope to see proliferate through basically everything that has 360 cameras. And much like the V6, you've got a funky little drive selector here. You've got drive or terrain modes, and then you use this weirdly satisfying lever to control what your drive modes are. Now you've got an eco mode and a sport mode. You've also got a My Drive, which I guess you could customize to be like a normal mode, but you don't have a designated normal mode here on your hybrids, just eco, sport, or custom. But then if you push this button, you can go into terrain drive modes, and then you've got a snow mode, apropos for late November here in Wisconsin. You've got a mud mode, and you've got a sand mode. And you see these 4 dots? They actually signify an H in Morse code, H for Hyundai, obviously, but they also tell you stuff. If they're red, that means you're in reverse, and you should pay a little bit more attention. And we've seen this feature trickle down from Genesis cars. These buttons, obviously, control the front seat. So if there's no one sitting here and you want a little bit more legroom here, you can do that. And you can fully control the lounge seat. The thing is, we don't have the lounge ottomans here in the hybrid, and I'm assuming it's because the battery is under here, so they don't have the room to put the little leg rest ottoman. So that is an interesting tidbit. Also, you've got chargers here on the backs of the front seats, which I always like to see. Also, shout out Lorna at Hyundai. You've got a little jet here that's gonna blow cleaning fluid onto your rear camera to make sure it's always clean, especially when it gets snowy and crappy out on the roads. And the last thing that we'll talk about, if you're into off-roading, you're not gonna be able to get the X-Pro version, the off-road version of the Palisade with the hybrid powertrain. You're gonna have to go V6 for that. So with that, let's grab the keys and go for a drive. Hey guys, real quick, Matt here. Just wanted to say I hope you've been enjoying the video. If you have, would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does go a long way in helping us get access to cars sooner and get access to manufacturer engineers so we can get more information on the cars and get you more information so you can make better decisions. So would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe, like, comment, the whole YouTube thing. But with that, let's get back to the video. All right, sport mode on my little Star Trek Enterprise toggle. Torque. You can kind of feel the difference. You get immediate electric torque, and then the turbo spools in. Not bad with the performance. Noticeably more performance than you get in the V6. Also noticeably gonna get better fuel economy than in the V6. Usually, as I'm doing these videos, it's just kind of sitting there idling for a while as it's getting B-roll shot and I'm doing my whole thing. We usually get pretty bad fuel economy. We're already outperforming the fuel economy in the V6, even with all of the static idling time for B-roll and stuff like that. And it's nice and smooth on top of that. Again, we talked about this behind the wheel. It's not quite as smooth as like a Honda 2-motor hybrid system. That's a really, really robust system. But again, it doesn't really function like a conventional hybrid system you would see in like a Toyota or Hyundai systems of yore, or Kia systems or things of that nature. It's just good. I think the thing that I wanted to see coming into this review, especially having spent some time in the V6 already, I was already really impressed with the V6. I still think this is the benchmark. So it really could only fall down with the hybrid, but it doesn't. It still feels like they've taken the V6 and everything that was great about the V6 and then they've improved upon it. So it's got more power, it's got more efficiency, and it's still just as refined, just as smooth, just as like border luxury car feeling as the V6 was, but with all of the added benefits. And it's not like you're spending a crazy amount more for it. We were in, and this is not, this comparison has no bearing whatsoever, but we were in like the Lexus LS 500 or whatever it was, the Lexus LS. And if you go for the hybrid, it's like $20,000 more. So this being like $2 to $3 grand, depending on trim, I certainly think you're getting a value here. I really do. I absolutely love the interior, the way that this kind of feels mid-century modern. There's a warmness to it. I like this white interior. You guys know I like a white interior, but they have this like kind of lighter saddle brown that feels very, very mid-century modern, especially with the way that the center console comes up and the way that the dash curls down. It's really nice headliner with the Bose speaker grills. It's just good, guys. I mean, it's got every feature I could possibly ask for. It's got plenty of power. It's got plenty of storage. It's got plenty of utility. It's just pretty good. I can hear the engine kick on. I can feel a slight vibration in my foot just as it kicks on, but then it's pretty invisible. The isolation from the powertrain through the cabin here is pretty impressive. I'm going to take my foot off throttle a little bit, let it coast, throwing itself into EV. Engine just kicked back. Like if I don't have music playing, I guess I maybe notice it a little bit through the throttle pedal when I'm setting off. But just like when you're going and the engine is turning on and turning, you're not going to notice it. You're not going to notice it. Unless you're on like high torque demand, you're not going to notice this powertrain. And I think that's the best thing that can be said for something in this application. It's smooth, hopefully it's reliable, we'll see, but you got a banging warranty. I'm impressed. Good job, Hyundai. They've been making the benchmark SUV in this class since, what was it, 2019? And they've continued to iterate on a banger. They have. So, good job, Hyundai. Thank you to Hyundai West Dallas for letting me have a go once again. Hopefully we can get one of these things at home to test for up to a week and do some like actual fuel economy testing and more like long-term testing. But as it sits right here and as my experience has been today, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. So thanks again to everyone involved, and we'll see you in the next one.